Hi, I'm Patrick Giguere with Cosmic Alchemist Astrology, and welcome to this video. Thank you for tuning in. So in this one I'm going to talk about the April 30th, 2022 solar eclipse in Aries. So, if you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, no, the eclipse is in Taurus, that's in tropical Western astrology. I'm doing sidereal astrology, which is visible sky astrology. I'm also reading Vedic astrology. So, there'll be some unfamiliar things. And if all the degrees of the planets and the sign placements of the planets sound wrong, well, there you go. So anyway, and if you're new to my channel, if you've not checked out my website, that URL is thecosmicalchemist.com. I'll put that in the comments. You can schedule Vedic astrology readings with me, rune readings, and I have a few videos for sale for download, some Qigong videos. Qigong is a really powerful mind-body practice that it's done a lot for me. It boosts your physical health, helps with your emotional health, your spiritual health, your mental health, all that good stuff. So anyway, let's talk about this eclipse. So the maximum for this solar eclipse, it's at about 3 p.m. I think it's like 3:17 Eastern Daylight Time, so East Coast of the United States. And it's going to be visible in Antarctica. And basically wherever on Earth that an eclipse is visible, it tells you where it's going to be most potent, where the effects are going to be most potent. I'm going to make another video about this because this April 30th eclipse is visible in Antarctica, and then in October, I think it's October 25th, it's visible in Europe. So I have some ideas about something that could come of these two eclipses, but that's for another video. Anyway, but I think with Antarctica being visible, Antarctica is basically the root chakra for the planet. So the root chakra deals with your material environment, all the materiality in your world. It deals with stability, and it deals with, the root chakra emotions, which are security, fear, security, fear, aggression, all that stuff. Basically, what people call the animal emotions, the animal instincts. Well, you're human, so you're part animal. You're part divine and you're part human, so you need that stuff. It's not evil. But it's going to deal a lot with our sense of material security. Now this is going to be, I think, an eclipse of transformation. It deals, when you look at everything going on around it, so when we get a little more specific in this, it's going to take place in the nakshatra, the constellation, one of the constellations within Aries, because in every sign of the zodiac you have 2.5 of these lunar mansions, these nakshatra constellations. So in this part of Aries at 16 degrees, you're within the constellation of Bharani. I think in American English this is like Bharani. So Bharani is it's Venus ruled, so it deals with creativity, the whole birth and death and rebirth process. The ruling deity is the god Yama, the Vedic god of death and rebirth, spiritual rebirth. So we've got a lot of this stuff going on around, birth and death, so endings and new beginnings. So it's transformation. But there's always some struggle involved. So in order to basically create a new world, create new lives for ourselves, new circumstances, new opportunities, to manifest new things. And also this is a very powerful eclipse for manifestation because it takes place in this lunar mansion, Bharani, and then the sun and moon are conjunct Rahu. So Rahu takes things in, gains things, acquires things, finds the shortest line to making things happen. So, powerful eclipse for manifestation, but like I was saying, you're going to have to deal with your deep, unconscious issues and emotions and hang-ups and all that stuff, and we all have them. So that's another thing, going back to Antarctica. Antarctica is down under. It's the farthest down under that you can go on planet Earth. So not only does it deal with the root chakra, but it deals with the deep unconscious mind. It deals with thoughts and emotions in our deep unconscious mind that are normally out of sight. This eclipse is going to bring them to the surface, and then we're going to be faced with the choice. Do we want to give in to those? Do we want to fold? Do we want to crumble and play it safe and go with the fear, do what the fear tells us do what the fear tells us to do what the insecurity tells us what to do, or we're going to use those creepy crawly unconscious emotions as fuel to make something new. So that will be the choice that we're going to come in contact with here. And the other thing too is, like, we have, with this eclipse, we have basically the ability to receive huge gifts from the universe. On this same day, Venus and Jupiter, which they're both teachers, they're both gurus. Jupiter's like the guru of the heavens. Venus is the guru of humanity, the teacher of humanity. So Jupiter's like the hard-ass guru, total perfectionist, nothing's good enough. And Venus is like, well, it's all about what's in your heart that counts. It's about your intention. It's not about doing everything perfectly. So they have, Venus and Jupiter have very different attitudes about how they teach. And they're considered kind of enemy planets, but they also work together because they're going to be conjunct at 3 degrees of Pisces. Jupiter is home there, Venus is exalted there. And then Neptune is at 0 degrees, so it's conjunct those two. And Neptune is like pure spirituality and divinity, or it's total like delusions and, being totally deluded and fooled by illusions. And then too, getting in on this, Saturn's going to be at 0 degrees, the miracle degree of Aquarius. So Saturn came out of Capricorn, which is all about restraint. It's about government, authority, hierarchy. Now it's in Aquarius, so Saturn, the lord of karma, the lord of the law of doing things the right way, is in Aquarius. So Saturn is basically saying it's fated that the people, Aquarius, we the people, are going to get a break. We're going to get some more freedom in our lives. We're still going to have struggles, but things are building in a good way. What's the other thing? Uranus will actually be conjunct this eclipse because Sun and Moon are at 16 degrees of Aries. Uranus is at 20. Uranus turns things over, flips over the chessboard, flips over the Monopoly board, upsets the status quo. Uranus is the eccentric planet. It does things its own way. It doesn't care what the norm is. Uranus is also the ruler of paradise, the keeper of the gate to paradise. Because Uranus was the original sky father before Saturn. So, in the mythological golden age. So, yeah, we have, again, power to manifest things that basically, like, totally turn over what our lives currently look like now. And also we have the ability to really change the way we feel, to turn that status quo over and overthrow it. So, yeah, pretty interesting. Now the other thing going on is about 18 hours before this solar eclipse. So solar eclipse is about 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, April 30th. 18 hours before that, about 9 a.m., April 29th, Pluto's going to go into retrograde. It's going to be in retrograde till October the 8th. So when this eclipse happens, Pluto will already be in retrograde. So Capricorn it's all about bending the knee. It's all about your duties, your responsibilities, the duties you owe to other people. It's about obligations. It's about sucking it up, doing what you're told, and not really having a choice. And Capricorn is also government, authority, hierarchies, the whole pyramidal hierarchy, and having to deal with that. So Pluto's a bit of a wrecking ball. Pluto, the god of the underworld, teaches really deep lessons, and it's not a tormentor, it's not evil, it doesn't want to torture you, but it shows you things that need to be fixed, like right now. Things that need to be fixed yesterday. So this is going to happen in the sign of government, the sign of authority, the sign of hierarchy. Especially for America, Capricorn being the second house deals with wealth, banking, money, all that stuff. Capricorn in itself kind of deals with banking too. So yeah, we're going to see really some upsets and some deep hidden truths about authority, government, hierarchy, finance. So, and it's not going to be undeniable headlines that the whole world will agree about, but we'll see things come out. And this is really, it's kind of bringing humanity down, more of this fork in the road we're going down. And I don't know what it looks like at the end of that, but people like Dolores Cannon, through her hypnosis work of going really into the deep unconscious in her clients, they kept telling her, like, humanity is going to basically split. And so there's going to be more or less two halves of humanity. We're going to become less and less aware of each other, to the point where we don't really see each other anymore. Some people have described this as basically the Earth undergoing cellular mitosis, where you get one cell and it builds energy, it starts growing, and then all of a sudden it goes bloop, and it turns into two. That's how cells grow. They divide. So yeah, there's something like that going on with humanity, I think. I think that idea makes sense. So this is going to, these headlines that are always coming out about these things being revealed, the whole world doesn't agree on them. Half the people say, wow, that's some amazing information. The other half says, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. I read it on Snopes, and Snopes did a fact check, and they say that's bullshit. So yeah, we're kind of having a parting of the ways, and it's something that has to happen. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short here. But yeah, just an eclipse of transformation, a very potent manifestation. And manifestation comes from our emotions, whether we manifest chaos or we manifest harmony and we manifest our dreams. Our emotions are the engine for that. So yeah, so actually that's a good segue. So again, this eclipse, 16 degrees of Aries, it's in the Bharani Nakshatra, the lunar mansion. Bharani is ruled by Venus. And it's also fiery energy. So, Aries is ruled by Mars. And Mars can be like a really suck-it-up kind of planet, because Mars is a warrior, a conqueror, an athlete, an architect, a surgeon, a builder, an engineer. And it's all about getting things done, and it doesn't always have time for feelings. But this Bharani, ruled by Venus, this is like the feeling, kind of nurturing part of Aries. So, if you've ever known, some Aries people can be real hard asses, and they like being physical, they like to work out, they like to fight, they like martial arts, they like to build things. And then some Aries people are really like, they love to take in the scenery, they love to enjoy the scenery, take their time, connect with people, share their feelings. Those are Bharani people. So we talk about our planets all the time. Oh, my sun is in this sign, my moon's in this sign, my Jupiter's in this sign. But the signs, through the sign, you've got 2.5 of these lunar mansions. So signs are not uniform. They have a general theme that's overarching, but they're not uniform. So if you want to learn more about that, you can book a reading with me. So I don't just tell you what sign your planets are in, but we go into the lunar mansions. So we get even more specific about what part of the sign that the planets are in and what kind of flavor, what kind of personality those planets get from those lunar mansions. So yeah, check it out. So yeah, this Bharani within Aries, it's Venus ruled, it's fiery, but it's also creative, supportive, nurturing. The symbol for Bharani is, it's the yoni, so it's the female reproductive organ. So this deals with creativity, creative energy, sexuality, deals with the birth and death cycle, because the yoni is, it's like the portal to the womb. And, wombs are symbolic of like the void, the void energy. The void is this space that's outside of a reality. It's like the space between realities. And the idea is that the matter within manifested reality is made up of energy that comes out of this void space. So it's kind of like a grave and an incubator. It's like all things come from there, all things go back there. And when you look at something like Buddhism, or even Taoism, it's like the soul's end goal can be to go back to the void, to just into that undifferentiated state, to just sort of be one with everything. So yeah, and when you see in religious art, you'll see Jesus standing in like this very vaginal shaped Vesica Pisces opening. Well, it's talking about, Jesus there is a symbol for this energy coming out of this void space to manifest reality and make all things possible. And then even, the doors to older churches and cathedrals, they have kind of this yoni vaginal shaped opening. And even this opening to the church is called a vestibule. So it's an anatomical term for this part of the body. So, it's no accident they use this word. So, yeah. Creative energy, sexuality, birth and life cycle. Again, this lunar mansion ruled over by the god Yama, the god of the birth and death and rebirth cycle. Yama in the Vedic mythology was the first god to incarnate on earth. He was born as a human and went through the whole birth, life, death, and rebirth cycle. So he rules over, again, birth, life, death, rebirth, and then death and rebirth. So, what else? This lunar mansion, Bharani, can be extreme in nature. No matter which way it goes, whether it's benevolent, malevolent, whether it's divine, or whether it's sort of like really materialistic, it goes to extremes. There's not a lot of in between, because it is very emotional. And it's like when people are emotional, they're very sure about how they stand on things, usually. The color for this lunar mansion, this nakshatra, is blood red. So menstrual blood, through all kinds of spiritual traditions, through centuries and millennia, is seen as a creative substance that life is born out of. And then the bird is the crow. This made me think of, well, for one, crows are resourceful, they're clever, and they learn quickly. And this nakshatra is all about learning quickly. It's all about exuberance and enthusiasm. And And then the crow too, it's like the raven. It's like Odin's ravens. So it's this sort of spiritual awareness. And then, let me see, I'm getting lost in my notes here. Let's see, I covered a bunch of this. Yeah, another thing with botany, again, power to manifest very quickly, very powerfully. So again, this eclipse visible in Antarctica, down under the unconscious mind, or the root chakra, we have this window to manifest. And it's all going to be dependent on our emotions and how we're dealing with them. Because again, emotions are the engine of manifestation. And one thing to look out for too, it's like this lunar mansion, this constellation, it's enthusiastic, it's eager, it's a fast learner, but it can lack follow-up. So just make sure whatever you're starting, you're prepared to see it through, because it's not necessarily going to just run itself. Now another thing too with botany is that this makes people like really good doctors, nurses, psychologists, because it has this energy of being able to feel other people's pain in order to understand it. So being able to sense it and to take it in. So this is a great gift, but it can also be kind of a curse, because it has the energy, when it's out of balance, of taking on other people's worries, and like worrying about other people and just taking on their pain. And people can kill themselves by doing this. So that's something we have to watch out for. Is like, just, I'm already talking to people who are feeling this eclipse already. What's today, the 26th? We're a few days out. And for everybody, based on what your ascendant is, this eclipse is going to take place in a different sign. But it's interesting, like I know probably like 5-6 different people who have Libra in their ascendant. People that I deal with, in my working life, in my social circles, and then even people who've emailed me, astrology clients who've even emailed me, and they're like, man, I'm feeling weird lately. With the Libra people, it's like, there's been like some insecurities coming up, and and usually around like relationships and people in their lives, because if you have a Libra ascendant, the eclipse takes place in Aries, which is the 7th house of all relationships, not just partners and spouses and romantic relationships, but business partnerships and all relationships with other people. People are kind of getting, these people especially seem to be feeling kind of rocked. And then the Pluto is going to be retrograde. It's like stationed right now. It's going to be retrograde in their 4th house. And the 4th house, Capricorn, for a Libra ascendant, is security. So, I think they're kind of getting, I don't know if they're getting the brunt of this, but they're feeling it pretty good, those Libra ascendants. So if that's true for you, just be aware the feelings are going to pass. And if you don't know where this eclipse is taking place, if you don't know what your ascendant sign is, I can help you out with that. Let me know. You can book on my site. Yeah, so another thing with this Bharani Nakshatra, this lunar mansion, with this ability to feel other people's pain, to take it in, to understand it, what can happen is when these people get out of balance, they get burned out, they get frustrated, they have a super strong ability to make other people feel their pain. So that's another thing to watch for is, this stuff can come up because it's not easy. Checking my notes. Let me see. Now, another thing about this constellation, Bharani, is that it's called the Star of Restraint. So restraint is a big part of the birthing cycle, because the baby, the fetus, is born because it just feels constrained by its environment. It's grown so big, it's developed so much that it's outgrown its environment, it's outgrown its surroundings, and it can no longer stay where it is. So then it has to struggle through this birth canal, through this opening of, again, the symbol of the yoni. It has to struggle out in order to come into this new environment that it's been prepared for. So, yeah, eclipse of powerful manifestation, but we're going to have to struggle a little bit. We're going to have to deal with our deep, dark, creepy, crawly emotions. And then we're going to have to take action based on those emotions in order to rebuild our lives, to rearrange our lives, to manifest whatever it is that we want. So, yeah. And I think freedom is a big part of this eclipse, because again, when that baby struggles its way out of the room, it takes on a new kind of new freedom, like a lifestyle, a more free lifestyle. It's like you're in the open world now. It's like an open world video game. You're in the open world now, and anything's possible, and you can become anything. So, yeah, this is very much about freedom, and people all over the world want their freedom back after this 2 years of plandemic, scamdemic. So, yeah. Now, another thing too is that the energy here in Bharani can be fanatical. So just watch for that in your pursuit of freedom. Like, don't go too crazy. Don't drop the hammer too much on people. Just take it all in stride. And, be aware of, what's going on with other people. And, how you're coming off. So, yeah. Now, some other things I want to go over here, because Jupiter and Neptune recently had a conjunction at 29 degrees of Aquarius, and then they transited into Pisces, and then on the day of this eclipse, Jupiter and Venus, again, the two gurus, will be conjunct 3 degrees of Pisces, and then Neptune will be at 0 degrees. So Neptune will be conjunct, the fully conjunct Jupiter and Venus. So Pisces is Jupiter's home sign. It's one of its home signs. This is Jupiter's temple. So Pisces is about going inwards. Sagittarius is Jupiter's other home sign. Sagittarius is more the young sign, the yang sign. So it's all about going outward. It's where Jupiter goes outward and teaches people and engages people. Pisces is going inward. It's like going to meditate or do qigong in the temple, yoga in the ashram, whatever floats your boat. Going out into the wilderness for a spiritual retreat. That's Pisces. Pisces is the deep unconscious, the deep emotions. So, and sort of the other world, the hidden world behind this world. And the thing about Pisces, Jupiter's at home, Venus is exalted. So Venus is extremely powerful in Pisces. And then Neptune is Jupiter's co-ruler of Pisces. And so Neptune, like any other planet, it kind of has it's got its vibrational scale. So on the low vibration, Neptune is a deceiver. Neptune fools you, or gives you an opportunity to fool yourself. On the high end, high vibrational end of the scale, Neptune is a ruler of divinity and spirituality and really just beautiful divine things. So this is all in the mix here with Pisces, because Pisces is spirituality. Pisces is divinity. And bringing spirituality and divinity into your life from that other world, that hidden spirit world. So it's pretty powerful that on the day of this solar eclipse, Jupiter at home, Venus exalted, will be conjunct at 3 degrees of Pisces with Neptune at 0 degrees, the miracle degree. Now, these are going to be in, all three of these, they're in the lunar mansion, a nakshatra called UTTARA BHADRAPADA. So this is one of the lunar mansions in Pisces. It's in the low degrees. This is the warrior star. The kind of one of the deities for it is the serpent of the abyss, the serpent of the deep. So this deals with deep wisdom, resolving unconscious wounds and emotions, and it also deals with conducting spiritual warfare. It's the warrior star. Now, at this 3 degree mark in Pisces, you have a fixed star called SHEAT. Now, the interesting thing, when you look up these fixed stars, they all have these Arabian names, these Arabic names, and there's hundreds of these things, but in this Arabian astrology tradition, like pretty much every star except for a handful, they're all like, oh, that star means catastrophe and suicide and disaster and shipwrecks and wars and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, SHEAT has a bunch of those connotations, but SHEAT is also about destroying prisons because it's that warrior star. Pisces is liberation because Pisces is the original ruler of the 12th house. 12th house is liberation from constraints, from the constraints of daily life. So it's a destroyer of prisons. But then also it can deal with things like great ambition with poor judgment. Yeah, it can deal with, again, crashes, shipwrecks, catastrophes. Depends where you meet it. It depends where your consciousness is at during these conjunctions and during these astrological events. Depends where you meet it at on the vibrational scale. So, yeah, and even that, so that Venus and Jupiter exactly conjunct 3 degrees directly on top of SHEAT, this star of, the breaker of prisons, and then Neptune is within 3 degrees, so it's conjunct SHEAT as well. So, very powerful influence here. And then, another layer to this, when you look at the Chinese astrology, and you go into the lunar mansions, so Uttara Bhadrapada corresponds to the 13th Chinese lunar mansion. I'm going to mess this pronunciation up, but it's something like Shu. So it's got that downward accent mark. So Chinese deals with intonations. So instead of Shu going up, it's Shu. This Shu it's called ENCMAPMENT. It deals with ceremonial pyres. So a pyre is like it's like a neatly put together stack of wood that something is burned on. So it's like cremations or ceremonial sacrifices. So it's the ceremonial pyre on which something is burned. It deals with temples with sacrificial flames, ceremonial sacrificial flames, and also a house where sacrificial offerings are stored. And so it's said to be good fortune for to the instigators of schemes. So, when you hear instigators of schemes, this is like, oh, it's conspiracies and cabals and Illuminati. Well, yeah, it's true. But you, as somebody who is trying to manifest something, you are an instigator of schemes, and there's nothing wrong with that because we all have agendas. Agendas are what we want out of life, what we want out of situations, what we want out of relationships. We all have agendas. We all need agendas because the soul is here on earth to learn things, and it couldn't do that without agendas. Agendas are desires, desires are karma. So we're here because we have karma, because we have desire. And in every spiritual tradition, except for the biblical ones, so Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, desire created the world, and desire runs the world, and there's nothing evil about it. But the biblical religions sought to destroy desire and to basically beat it out of us. So it's kind of where we're at. And that the biblical religions were really the birthplace for religious extremism and political and ideological extremism. Because before those religions, there were all these points of view in the world. Neither of them were wrong, neither of them were right, but people just picked the one that was for them. People were still human back then, they still had problems, but those biblical religions really gave birth to a lot of extremism. Anyway, getting back to this Chinese lunar mansion. Another thing too is it's like, favors given by officials for work done. So there's different ways to go with that. So, on one hand you can go to the whole conspiratorial angle and be like, oh, people are getting payoffs for fucking us over and running conspiracies. Well, yeah, that's true, but this is also about basically life rewarding you for following your heart and manifesting what you want, for taking that action to get what you want. It's like fortune favors the brave, who dares wins, it's like those mottos. So yeah, now another way I see with this Chinese lunar mansion dealing with these sacrificial fires and sacrificial flames, it goes back to the whole thing about the botany, this constellation in Aries where the eclipse is taking place. You have to fight through the constraint in order to get into the new world, the new life of joy and freedom and all that good stuff. So in order to have something new, you have to sacrifice something old. You have to make a change. You have to end a cycle in order to begin a new one. You have to end a paradigm in order to begin a new one. You just can't take everything with you or everybody with you through life. It's like sometimes you have to make changes, and the change starts with ending something old and beginning something new. So you end an old way of living to begin a new one. And that feels like a sacrifice because it can be very painful to give up old assumptions, old thoughts, old emotions, and old behaviors. It can be very painful to do that. It can be very scary. Because especially the unconscious mind, what it does well is it does well with what it's familiar with. It's not very good with new things. So this is where self-sabotage comes in. We sabotage ourselves because we're afraid of new beginnings and doing something new. So yeah, you have to get the new things, you have to let the old go. So yeah, that's what I think is like the sacrificial stuff. Now in the conspiracy end of things, like, yeah, people behind the politicians and behind all the banks and corporations and hedge funds, yeah, they pull off sacrifices. Like, I think they're trying to set up a big blood sacrifice in Ukraine, but it's not working. The United States is backing down from, having this stance of, oh, we'll do anything for Ukraine. And now they're like, the defense secretary came out and he's like, well, we just want to weaken the Russian military, through softer, more roundabout means. So that war is not going to manifest, I don't think, or at least with American involvement. But yeah. So yeah, but just getting back, on this day of the eclipse, Jupiter, Venus, Neptune, all conjunct in Pisces, really powerful, real opportunity for liberation and for manifestation of divine gifts in our lives. And then too, the other thing which I mentioned, you got Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius, so it's at the miracle degree. Aquarius is humanity, it's we the people, it's all of us. This is one of Saturn's home signs. And this is where Saturn drops the karma bombs to basically help people be more free and to get, kind of a more fair shake in life. So, yeah, freedom's on the way. And then, for America, Aquarius is the 3rd house of communication and media. So it's like, I think more truth bombs on the way. Now Mars is also in Aquarius. That's 17 degrees, so it's 17 degrees away from Saturn. But this is like upsets and setbacks and, explosions within, the institutions, the big institutions of mass media. So that's always a good thing. And like I said, conjunct with the Sun and Moon for this eclipse, and right near Rahu, you got Uranus at 20 degrees. So this eclipse will help us to manifest powerfully, but in order to manifest powerfully, we have to shake our lives up. And again, Aries is what is our heads. It's what goes on inside of our heads. So in order to do this manifesting, we have to shake up the emotional and intellectual contents of our heads. And again, like I always say, intellect is just based on a foundation of emotion. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to do that video about these next 2 eclipses. So April visible in Antarctica, October visible in Europe. I'll give you a sneak preview though. What do Antarctica and Europe have in common? If you're not up on your history, your alternative history, quote-unquote alternative, more real history, Antarctica and Europe have Nazi Germany in common. And I'm going to leave it at that. Leave you hanging till the video. So thanks for tuning in. If you've not liked, subscribed, and shared these videos, I highly encourage you to do so. If you hit that subscribe button, you'll get alerts every time I make a video. I'll have more coming. It's been a tough few months. And if you've not had a Vedic astrology or a rune reading with me, I highly recommend it. It's a great way to map out your mind and your thinking and your behavior and understand yourself better. So life is less of a mystery. And so you yourself are less of a mystery. And if you've not practiced Qigong, or if you're looking for a Qigong practice, I have those videos for sale for download. Those practices have really helped me a lot. I've really gotten into the heart-centered Qigong lately. It's done amazing things for me and for the people who take my live class every week, my in-person class. So anyway, thanks a lot, and I'll be in touch. Have a good one.